Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of how you can prepare for a college course, a college online course. So, most college online courses have a late work policy. So, you want to make sure that you take a look at the late work policy. I'm going to share mine so you can get an example of what it could look like in other places, but definitely you want to look at the syllabus and make sure that you are familiar with the late work policy because that is going to be key for you in the future. Okay. So, the first thing you do to support your learning and keep your coursework on track, follow the late work policy. Okay. So, this is the one that I use as an example. So, what I typically do is split the class in half. So, whatever amount of time the class is for, I split it in half. So, right now, I have, for example, a 12-week course. I'm going to split the class in half. So, the first half of the work is going to be due midterm wise, just before the midterm. And then the second half of the class is going to be due just before the course ends. Okay, so that is how we're going to make sure that we have everything that we need. All right. So, with that being said, when something is due, I usually wait a good 48 hours before I start grading because that gives people time and to get the assignment in. It gives you some breathing room and all those kind of things, especially when you are first doing an online class. You want to make sure that you are familiar with that and you have some kind of know that there's some ease. So I personally use a grace period about 48 hours before I start grading. And I still will peruse the assignment, but I might not officially publish that grading until like 48 hours in to kind of give, especially the first couple of weeks, to give students some breathing room as they adjust to online classes. Now, towards the middle of the term, there's going to be a rhythm and a cadence to when I'm going to be addressing those assignments. Okay, so typically if it's a Monday class and because I usually give you a whole week to complete the assignment. So if a Monday class is start, it's ending on a Sunday, I'm going to start grading on that Tuesday. Okay, so that gives you time to kind of get that in. With that being said, after the 48 hours, typically what instructors will do will start with the 10% deduction in your assignment. Okay, so just keep in mind you want to look at that 10% or percentage of what that deduction is. Some classes that will be built into the course, the instructor does not have any control over that. It all depends on the timing. So you definitely want to, again, look at your syllabus and make sure you're aware of that. So if there's no submissions after the 48 hours, you're going to get an automatic zero, and there's going to be explanation. We're required to give you feedback as to why you're getting the zero, and in most cases, there are no submissions. Okay. Now, in my class, what I do after the no submissions point and I get some sort of communication from that student, the student and I will work on when they're going to resubmit. Because there's a time frame where I allow you to submit all of anything you missed, you've got the space and the time and the grace to submit those assignments. Okay, because I do understand you're adult students, there's a lot going on, especially in the beginning of the term, and so you're going to need that extra time. Okay. But once you get to the late cutoff dates, this is where it gets a little tricky for some people. When we get to the midterm and you get to the cutoff date, I'm not going to allow you to go back and go forward. For example, I am currently teaching a communication course that requires speeches. And in those communication courses, if you miss that speech, it's a significant part of your grade. So you definitely want to make sure you take advantage of those midterm coursework timeframes. So if you missed it the first time, take it the second time. Now, some instructors are kind and they will allow you to go back to those beginning assignments. And if that's the case, take advantage of it if that happens. Okay. If you miss out on that, that is a significant part of your grade and it will bring your grade all the way down. And if you're doing well and then your grade just completely drops, it's heartbreaking. And it's because you didn't submit significant amount of work. And that does happen. So there's other additional things you can do to resolve those issues. That's another video for a different day and something you can talk to your instructor about, or not necessarily your instructor, but your advisor, your registrar can help you with that, your department chair. So that involves appeals, grade changes. Your instructor may be involved, but that might be on the back end. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, post midterm work, the focus is because once we get to the midterm, everything else is closed. Our focus is on the new speeches, whatever the second half, the new speeches are, that's what the focus is going to be. So you want to make sure you're looking at those assignments, you're focusing in on those, and you're not scattered all over the place. So your focus is on the second part of the course. Okay, and again, you get into the rhythm, you get into the cadence of submitting it on a certain date, on a certain time, so it's not a problem. Most online classes have discussions, so the discussions will keep you in that cadence of going in the class, making sure you respond to the discussion, making sure that you respond to your peers. There's usually certain days and times where that is supposed to occur. So if a term starts on a certain day, they usually give you 3 to 4 days to do your initial response, and then the remaining days of the week is for your responses to your peers. So take advantage of that. Again, look at your syllabus, make sure you understand when those days and times are so you're not missing out on anything. I just want to make sure you have all the things you need to be successful. Okay? So assignments due after the midterm must be submitted by the individual due dates. And again, within the 48-hour grace period window. After a final course deadline, no late work will be accepted unless there is documentation of a critical emergency. So again, those are things that you want to talk to your instructor. If you have accommodations or something comes up, the moment something comes up or you believe that something is going to occur, you need to communicate with your instructor. The more open you are with your instructor, the more likely they're willing to work with you. When you are completely silent and you say nothing, and then you appear, the likelihood of your instructor assisting you is very slim. Now, will they? Of course, but it's easier when the instructor is aware and then they can do other things to help you. Okay? So make sure you do that. Just remember, if you need help, we, the instructors, are here to help you. If you anticipate difficulties meeting the deadline, anything impeding your academic success, contact your instructor immediately. Okay? Communicate as much as possible or as close to the due date as you possibly can. Okay? We are here to support you. Proactive communication is definitely the key. All right. Please include, of course, your full name, class name, section number, and put the subject line in there, correspondence, to make sure that we can communicate with you accurately. Okay. So thank you so much for another episode of making sure that you're prepared for your summer classes and having the information you need to be academically successful. We're here for you and we want you to succeed. Enjoy your day. Bye.